business isn't growing as fast as it used to, it might not be you, it might be the market. And if you don't understand what really happened after the 2007 crash, you'll keep making the same mistake a lot of coaches and consultants made back then, confusing momentum with mastery. Let's talk about that and so much more in this video. This is episode number 2 in a special series where I'm walking you through the last 20 years of the market so you can finally understand what's really been impacting your sales, your systems, and your ability to scale. Now, if this is the first video you're watching, welcome. I'm so excited that you are here. Let's do a quick review. In episode 1, I talked about the calm before the crash. We got into what happened between 2005 and 2007 when businesses were being built on confidence instead of strategy. In this episode, we're going to dig all the way into the crash itself, and we'll get into the slow climb back to confidence from 2007 through 2015. Depending upon when you started your business, this is going to be brand new information for you, and it's information you need to have in order to be able to maximize the current market that we are in. And then in the next 2 episodes, I'll break down the pandemic surge and the mature market that we're in right now and how you should be preparing your business for the next growth window, which will begin in 2028. I am Dr. Darnyelle Jervey Harmon. I am the award-winning founder and CEO of Incredible One Enterprises. I help 6-figure coaches and consultants scale to 7 figures with strategy, systems, and soul. I created the Move to Millions method, the proven framework and methodology that is responsible for helping many companies cross the 7-figure mark and sustain it over time. And I created it for moments just like this because I've built businesses in every market and I know how to help you grow through all of it. All right, now let's get into what happens next if you are tracking the story. So in 2007, the market collapsed. And I don't mean just a little dip. No, I'm talking about a full-on crash. Banks failed. Banks went bankrupt. Budgets froze. Sales cycles slowed all the way down. Now, I don't know where you were in 2007 and 2008, but I remember trying to start my coaching business and struggling. It took me 9 months to make my first dime. Now, here's what I want you to understand and catch. Buyers didn't stop needing help because the market crashed. They just stopped saying yes to anything that didn't feel safe. They stopped investing off of hype. They wanted proof. They needed structure. They needed someone who could lead them with some clarity. Does any of this sound familiar? This was actually the season that I sent my pink Cadillac back to Mary Kay Cosmetics and started what is today Incredible One Enterprises. Now, before you get too excited, we entered what I call the lost years. And those were the years filled with bankruptcy and not knowing exactly what it is that I needed to do. But I heard God clearly when he said moved, so I moved. And during that time, I couldn't figure out how to make the business work, so I went back to work. I took a job where I decided that I was going to be there for 2 years. And while I was in that job, I was also a student. I was learning all the things I needed to know about business because I was clear that when God told me to start Incredible One Enterprises, he didn't want me to just start a business. He wanted me to build something that could last, something that wouldn't fall apart just because the markets did. So that was during the time that I started to really double down into this business, and I learned what I didn't know in order to take the business to the next level. And within those 2 years that I was working, the business really started to grow and we experienced our first 6-figure year. I came back into the business full time in 2011 and everything began to shift. By 2013, the fear also in the world began to shift and people were ready to start investing again. But they were different now. They didn't want bright, shiny objects. They wanted things that were sure. And the coaches and consultants who stayed consistent during those hard years, they are the ones who became go-to experts. They had staying power. They had results and they knew how to lead. This is when I really started to refine what is today referred to as the Move to Millions method. In our first iteration, it was called the Leverage Your Incredible Factor system. I recognized that clients were ready to grow again and they needed more than encouragement. They needed structure. They needed systems. They needed pillars of business optimization. And that's exactly what we endeavored to give them. And so also during this corridor of time between 2007 and 2015, I had my first seven-figure year in 2014. Now, by the time we got to 2015, I had a multi-seven-figure business, but I hated it. I worked way too much. I was a one-trick pony, and everything else in my life, including my health, my wellness, my sanity, had taken a back seat. I knew that there had to be a better way to build my business, especially now that I was no longer afraid to lead in the world with my faith. So I did the unthinkable. I don't advise that you do this, but I actually blew my business up. And I blew it up so that I could rebuild it in a way that will honor me fully, both financially and spiritually. And it was a game changer that I absolutely needed. Now, I want to pause here and share what actually happened in this part of the season, because this is really important. If I had to pick which pillars in the Move to Millions method made the biggest difference for me between 2007 and 2015, it would be these. Always coming in at number one is strategy. Now, this was not the time to guess. You needed a mapped out business model. You needed an offer suite that made sense and pricing that reflected your value and helped you to experience profit. Profit, after all, is how we keep scoring business. And you had to understand this even when buying cycles were slower. This is when I started to help clients move away from chasing cash flow just for the sake of cash flow. And I actually started to help them to build real revenue through building out an infrastructure. This was also during the time when we went all in on our six-figure business is small business poverty mantra. The second pillar that I would absolutely hang my hat on between 2007 and 2015 would be sales infrastructure, because people were no longer making fast buying decisions. So I built a consultative sales system that nurtured the buyer. This is where we introduced applications and nurturing funnels and authority building content that helped buyers say yes with confidence before we ever got on the sales call with them, which made it very easy for us to be able to get them to enroll in one of our programs. We actually, at that point in time, held our largest event ever with over 300 attendees and literally made millions in minutes because of our sales infrastructure. The third pillar that was centrifugal to my business from 2007 to 2015 was systems and operational efficiency. When buying cycles slowed down, it became essential to look for opportunities to be more efficient while automating key functions within my company. Now, here's what I know. If you didn't have systems in place to track your leads, to manage client delivery, to handle payments, and streamline your communications, you would literally drown in the busy work and drop a lot of balls in the name of business. There are so many people who call themselves CEOs, and that E stands for everything. I remember when we created our client onboarding system, and that system we're still leveraging today while constantly tweaking it to make it better. It was a true game changer. We weren't guessing on how to serve our clients and to get them powerful results anymore, which ultimately allowed our renewal rates to skyrocket to over 80%. We knew where our leads were in our pipeline. We had our onboarding processes and our delivery checklist. And I got to spend my energy serving our clients, not scrambling to put things together. This pillar is often overlooked, especially when the market slows. But if you truly desire to scale and you want to do so regardless of what the market is doing, you need a business that is going to function when you are not present. Hint, you're going to need to get out of your business to actually watch it grow. And then the final pillar I would say would have been important for me in 2007 through 2015 was soul leadership. Listen, that was a spiritual season, just like now is a spiritual season. And if you are not clear on your assignment, then you're going to quit your business, because this, for many people, is hard, just like it was back then. Soul leadership helped me to stay rooted when the money wasn't yet flowing back in 2007 and 2008, and even into 2009, where we had our first nearly six-figure year. It helped my clients stay anchored when doubt crept in. Now, I wasn't calling it soul leadership back in 2007 or even in 2015, but everything began to change when we recognized the significance of it. Now, I want to bring all of this full circle for you, because even though that market crash was nearly 20 years ago, the patterns, guess what? They are showing up again. Buyers are taking their time to make a decision. Trust is lower and sales cycles are lengthening. And if you don't know how to read the signs, you'll start second guessing yourself, when really you just need a better strategy and a better understanding of where your market is right now. I don't know how often you're conducting market research, but now would be a great time to check in with your potential clients and see what they're most needing. Now, the same things that worked back then, guess what? They're still working right now. That is why I love the Move to Millions method so much. It's not tied to trends, it is built on truth. Now, as we round out this episode, let me leave you with this. Just because people are buying, it doesn't mean that they're going to buy from you. They're buying from people who make them feel safe. They're buying from people who exude confidence. Your prospects will borrow your confidence to say yes to themselves through your products and services. So you've got to become the safe place that your clients will invest in. That's how you win in any market, regardless of what's going on. In our next episode, I'm going to show you what happened between 2016 up until 2025. We'll get into how the coaching industry exploded, how COVID-19 created a false surge, and why so many people are panicking over the slower sales that are happening now. This next part is crucial, especially if your business was born or scaled during the pandemic. Because what looked like fast growth, well, it was really a bubble. And if you don't learn what you need to know in order to shift now, you'll keep feeling like something is broken, when the fact of the matter is it's just the cycle that we're in and it's playing out again. Ever heard that phrase, there's nothing new under the sun? Well, guess what? The market follows the same pattern. So let me ask you a question. I want you to sit with this. Are you building a business that only works in perfect conditions? Or are you building a business that works perfectly for you in every condition? I hope that you're after the latter, and I hope that you see the value of this series to help you to understand what you need to know about the market in order to do just that. Legacy-led CEOs don't build for the moment, they build for the movement. I look forward to seeing you in episode 3, where we'll get into the pandemic peaks that will lead us into the mature market that we're in now. See you in the next video. Take care.